On the surface, yoga and exercise, they can look pretty much the same. I mean, both involve moving your body, usually on a mat, and hey, both promise to make you healthier. But if you dig just a little deeper, you find out they're actually fundamentally different. They have totally different origins, different methods, and believe me, profoundly different effects on our bodies and our minds.
So what's it going to be? The high-energy, heart-pumping vibe of a gym or the quiet, focused calm of a yoga studio? To really answer that, we've got to look past the fancy poses and the heavy weights and get right to the core purpose of each one. So let's do that. Let's break down what really separates them. All right, let's start at the very beginning. Where did these two disciplines even come from? Well, their original goals couldn't be more different. One was literally born from this ancient quest for inner peace, while the other came from a very practical need for physical power. And this, right here, is where the two paths really split. Yoga, going back thousands of years, was never really about getting a six-pack. Its goal, as the ancient sage Patanjali put it, was all about controlling the mental modifications, which is just a fancy way of saying, calming the chaos in our own heads. Exercise, on the other hand, was born out of pure practicality. Things like hunting, training for battle, and just getting physically fit to survive. So one starts with the mind, and the other starts with the body. Okay, so if the philosophies are that different, how does that actually play out? I mean, what does a typical session look and feel like? Well, the difference is pretty stark. One is all about finding stillness, and the other is all about breaking a sweat. See, a traditional yoga session is a very systematic journey inward. It's not just some random collection of stretches you do. It actually begins with setting an intention, then it moves through these physical postures, it brings in specific breathing techniques, and it all leads up to meditation. It's a structured process, and it's designed to take your awareness from the physical world to a much more subtle, internal state. And this brings us to something that a lot of people get wrong about yoga. We tend to think the asana is the movement itself, the act of getting into the pose. But the real definition of asana is the posture itself, being steady and comfortable. The real work, the magic, it all happens in the stillness, in just holding the pose. It's a tool to change your mental state by changing your physical state. So this is the crucial point, right here. The movements are just the commute. They're how you get there. The real destination, according to yoga philosophy, is maintaining that posture with total awareness and breathing in sync. That's what separates it from just a simple stretch or holding a plank. The whole focus is internal, and the goal is to find a sense of ease, even when you're putting in the effort. Okay, so the why is different and the how is different. But what's actually happening on a biological level? Let's get into the science of it, because this is fascinating. How do these practices uniquely mess with our internal hardware? Everything from our nervous system to our stress hormones. You see, yoga has this really holistic model of what a person is. It's not just about this outer physical layer, what they call the annamaya kosha. The whole practice is designed to systematically work on every single layer, moving inward towards something called the anandamaya kosha, or the blissful self. Exercise, for the most part, is really just targeting that first physical layer. And right here on this chart, the difference becomes crystal clear. Yoga, with its focus on slow, mindful movement and deep breathing, shifts your nervous system toward the parasympathetic, that's our rest and digest mode. It actually lowers the stress hormone cortisol. High-intensity exercise, it does the exact opposite. It revs up our fight-or-flight system and can actually increase cortisol. Even our muscles get it. Yoga encourages those energy-efficient, slow-twitch fibers built for endurance. So here's a really simple way to think about it. Yoga is basically retuning your entire system for a state of calm efficiency. It's building this foundation of balance. Exercise is recharging your system for power and immediate, forceful action. Both are incredibly valuable, but they're conditioning you for completely different things. And this is the million-dollar question, right? It's cool to see how they work differently, but does it actually matter? Do these differences really translate into tangible health benefits? What happens when you put yoga and exercise in a head-to-head competition, like a clinical trial? Well, researchers have done exactly that. They've put them to the test. So let's take a look at what the science says happen when yoga and physical exercise went head-to-head for a whole range of health conditions. And let me tell you, the findings are pretty eye-opening. The results are just wow. Across this huge spectrum of issues, from serious mental health conditions like depression and schizophrenia to chronic physical pain and even high blood pressure,
Study after study found that yoga was either just as good as, or in many cases superior to, standard physical exercise. This really suggests that those unique parts of yoga, like the mindfulness and the breathwork, they're providing benefits that simple movement just can't touch. And here, check this out. Here is a specific, really powerful example. In an 8-week trial with teenagers, the group that did yoga saw their verbal aggressiveness scores plummet, a drop of more than 5 points. And the physical exercise group, barely a change, less than 1 point. I mean, that is a stunning piece of data that shows how yoga's mental training can create real, measurable changes in behavior that exercise alone just doesn't seem to produce. So after looking at the origins, the practice, the biology, and the hard evidence, we can finally pull it all together. What is the one essential thing you need to take away from all this? It really all boils down to this one simple idea. Physical exercise is, at its heart, about training the body. But yoga completely flips that script. It's about using the body as a tool, as an instrument, to train and to quiet the mind. The body is the means, it's not the end goal.
So you see, it was never really about the movement itself. The true difference makers, the secret sauce, are the elements that we often overlook. That conscious awareness of your body, the deliberate regulation of your breath, and that quiet embrace of stillness. That's the unique formula that makes yoga such a powerful mind-body discipline.
Look, at the end of the day, both paths offer incredible benefits, but they are very different paths. One recharges the body for powerful action, the other retunes the entire human system for peace. So the real question for you is, now that you know the difference, which journey are you looking to take?